Hello and good evening and welcome to my channel for another Doctor Who quiz featuring the Planet of Giants. And as you know, I'm recording live. So before we get started, a few announcements. Firstly, I would like to wish one of my members who is celebrating his birthday today. So congratulations to Dylan Bates. Have a happy birthday and don't forget to save me a piece of cake. Next up, I'd like to thank all the people that viewed my channel, and now my subscribers have reached 37. So I would like to thank every one of the 37 who subscribed to it. I appreciate it very much and will always be adding new content every day to the channel. I've also got some great news to tell you. This Saturday I will be joining once again Mr. Hyde as his guest on his show for another horror stream featuring Universal Horror. So there will be more information about this coming up during next week. Right, before we start the quiz, firstly you will need a pen and paper, as I will be giving the answers out when I repeat the questions once again. So to help you have the incentive to find a pen and paper, it's time for another musical interlude. Yes, I'm going to sing, so be warned. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond blue shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York, I wanna wake up in a city that doesn't sleep. And I am king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you. New York, New York, New York. Right, so congratulations to me for killing a great song. So when you thought it was safe to come back into the room, then you are right. The musical interlude is over and we can get right into the Doctor Who quiz featuring the Planet of Giants. My God, I've never done a song so badly. Anyway, never mind all that. Let's get on with it. Are you ready? And then let's play. Here we go. Question 1. Here's a nice easy one to start. How many episodes are there in this adventure? Is it A, 3? Is it B, 4? Or is it C, 6? Question 2. Who wrote Planet of Giants? Was it A, Douglas Canfield? Was it B, Louis Marks? Or was it C, Mervyn Pinfield? Question 3. What date was this adventure first broadcast? Was it A, the 29th of October 1964? Was it B, the 30th of October 1964? Or was it C, the 31st of October 1964? Question 4. Here is my first true and false question, which I will be added into the quizzes as a new concept, if you can call it that. Right, here it goes. Was Planet of Giants the first adventure of Season 2? Was it A, true, or was it B, false? Right, moving on to question 5. What was the viewing figures when this adventure premiered? Was it A, 7.4 million? Was it B, 8.4 million? Or was it C, 9.4 million? Question 6. When the door opened before materialisation, what was the effect on the TARDIS and the companions when they landed on present-day Earth? Was it A, they became marooned in time and space? Was it B, they were completely miniaturised? Or was it C, the TARDIS became so big through expansion they became giants on the planet? Right, question 7. This one is a two-parter, so I thought I would get this one in early. Question 7A. In this adventure, who was the villain? Was it A, Farrow? Was it B, Forrester? Or was it C, Smithers? And question 7B, the second part of this question, who was the actor who played the villain? Was it A, Ray Barrett? Was it B, Alan Tilvan? Or was it C, Peter Craze? Right, moving on to question 8. Which book inspired this adventure to be written? Was it A, A Silent Spring? Was it B, A Silent Night? Or was it C, Silence is Golden? Right, moving on to question 9. When the Doctor suggested they split up into two parties, who went with the Doctor? Was it A, Ian? Was it B, Susan? Or was it C, Barbara? Right, question 10. I'll say that again. When one of the companions shouted to the Doctor, "Look, it's a huge snake," but what really was it? I repeat that one again so you understand. When one of the companions shouted to the Doctor, "Look, it's a huge snake," what really was it? Was it A, a caterpillar? Was it B, a centipede? Or was it C, a worm? A bit like me. Only joking. Question 11. What was the reason for the demise of the insects in the garden? Was it A, some of the energy from the TARDIS had escaped and exposed everything in that area? Was it B, they had been exposed by radiation? Or was it C, they had been subjected to an insecticide? Question 12. When the TARDIS materialised in England, what was the name of the place they materialised in? Was it A, Liverpool? Was it B, Norwich? Or was it C, Brighton? Right, I'm looking for some. Question 13. What did Ian say about the world they had materialised in? Was it A, we are on Earth but I can't explain it? B, it must be an exhibition like the World's Fair? Or was it C, don't be naive, Susan, this is another planet? Right, question 14. Why did the villain shoot to death the government scientist? Was it A, the scientist was about to expose his project? Was it B, he refused to be blackmailed? Or was it C, his report would have exposed the dangers of the insecticide that his company was producing? Right, moving on to question 15. What was the name of the insecticide used? Was it A, DN4, Was it B, DN5, or was it C, DN6? Right, question 16. Which of the companions accidentally touched the insecticide and which was sprayed on the seeds and that she touched and and fell ill? I'll repeat that again. That's a complete cock-up, isn't it? What a complete fucking travesty of a bloody question to read out. I'll do it again. Question 16. Here we go. Here we go again. Which of the companions accidentally touched the insecticide which was sprayed on some seeds and fell ill? Was it A, Ian? Was it B, Susan? Or was it C, Barbara? Right, question 17. When the companions discovered the dead body on the floor, what method did they use to try and inform and attract the authorities? Was it A, trying to use a telephone? Was it B, using a Bunsen burner on an aerosol can? Or was it C, turning the gas on in the laboratory, which would cause an explosion? Right, question 18. What was the giant animal that was sizing the companions up? What was the name of the giant animal that was sizing the companions up? Was it A, a dog? Was it B, a frog? Or was it C, a black cat? And now we come to the final two, thank God. Question 19. How did the companions and the Doctor revert back to normal size? Was it A, as soon as the Doctor and the companions dematerialised in the TARDIS, things including themselves returned to normal size? Was it B, they began to grow back to normal size when the compression field around them began to weaken and disintegrate? Or was it C, it was just an hallucination they were experiencing brought on by some escaping Ultron energy from the TARDIS console while they were asleep? Right, I'll move on swiftly. Question 20. Which one of the companions will leave at the end of the next story? That's a good one for you, isn't it? So you know what that story could be. I'll repeat that one again. Which one of the companions leaves the TARDIS for good in the next adventure? Is it A, Ian? Is it B, Susan? Or is it C, Barbara? Right, we're halfway through, and now the moment you've been waiting for, the answers to go with those questions. Starting with question 1. Are you ready? Question 1. How many episodes are there in this adventure? Is it A, 3? Is it B, 4? Or is it C, 6? The answer is A, 3. They actually were going to do the normal 4, but the budget not allowed them to go on that far, so obviously they tried to cram it all in and get 3 and turn it into 3 episodes to save time and money. So the answer is A, 3. Question 2. Who wrote Planet of Giants? Was it A, Douglas Camfield? Was it B, Louis Marks? Or was it C, Mervyn Pinfield? The answer is B, Louis Marks, because the other two are actually directors. He's the only writer amongst those 3 possible answers. Louis Marks, B. Right, moving on to question 3. What day was this adventure first broadcast? Was it A, the 29th of October 1964? Was it B, the 30th of October 1964? Or was it C, the 31st of October 1964? The answer is the 31st of October 1964, C. Right, moving on to question 4. This is the one I was talking about. I'm going to be adding these into the quizzes for future reference. I'm going to be using true and false questions as well. So here's the very first one that I decided to do. Right, true or false? Was the Planet of Giants the first adventure of season 2? Was it A, true, or is it B, false? The answer is A, it's true. And remember, the next one of the companion, it's actually this is the penultimate episode of adventure before one of the companions leaves the next story, but I won't let you know that because we haven't come to that question and answer yet. So, but I'll just let you know this is the final episode before the next adventure when the companion, when one of those 3 companions leaves the TARDIS for good. I'll leave you to speculate on that one. Right, that's the end of that one. So the answer was A, it's true. It was the first adventure of season 2, the new season, after a successful first one. So the season was over and then began a new series. So, but we call it series. In them days, they called it season. You know, what's the difference? Season, series. Never mind. I don't think it matters. Right, question 5. What was the viewing figures when this adventure premiered? What was the viewing figures when this adventure premiered? Was it A, 7.4 million? Was it B, 8.4 million? Or was it C, 9.4 million? The answer is an amazing 8.4 million tuned in for the very first adventure of Planet of Giants. And it maintained the viewing figures right throughout, so it was quite unique at the time for Doctor Who. So anyway, the answer's B, 8.4 million. Question 6. When the doors opened before materialisation, what was the effect on the TARDIS and the companions when they landed on present-day Earth? Was it A, they became marooned in time and space? Was it B, they were completely miniaturised? Or was it C, the TARDIS became so big through expansion, they became giants on the planet. So when they left the TARDIS, everything was smaller. But we know that's not true, so it certainly isn't C. But the answer, of course, is B. They were completely miniaturized due to the doors opening, remember? So the doors opened before they materialized on whatever place they were coming to. So that's what happens when the doors open before materialization, according to the writers. Right, okay, question 7. Here is a 2-part question. I thought, as you know, I like to throw them in. Here's the first part. Question 7A. In this adventure, who was the villain? Who was the baddie in this? Was it A, Farrow? Was it B, Forrester? Or was it C, Smithers? The answer is B, Forrester. Excuse me, my throat's a bit dry. If you didn't get that, B, the answer was B, Forrester, okay? Right, the second part of this question is obvious. Who's the actor that played Forrester? Was it A, Ray Barrett? Was it B, Alan Tilden? Or was it C, Peter Craze? The answer is B, Alan Tilden. Alan Tilden, if you're a Hammer horror film follower, was in a film called Rasputin the Mad Monk with Christopher Lee in 1966. He played the landlord of the tavern, so you probably remember who he is. And he's also been in a lot of 60s stuff like Danger Man, The Prisoner, all that stuff, all those great series in the 60s. So he is a familiar name. He was also in Dad's Army, where he played the American general. It's when they had a big punch up. The Home Guard didn't get on with the Americans because they felt they were too cocky. That's that episode. But anyway, he played the American general. And it was the one where Captain Mainwaring is always getting punched. And there's a guy taking a photograph. It was funny. Well, it was to me anyway. Never mind. So there you go. That's who Alan Tilden is. Right, we're moving on now to question 8. Which book inspired this adventure to be written? Was it A, Silent Spring? Was it B, Silent Night? Or was it C? Pardon me again, I've got a bit of an hiccup or a bit of gas. Probably because I talk too much. Because I'm full of wind. Never mind. So I repeat the possible 3 answers again, or shall I say the question. Question 8. Which book inspired this adventure to be written? Was it A, Silent Spring? Was it B, Silent Night? Or was it C, Silence is Golden? Well, Silence is Golden was sang by the Tremolos, so it's basically an old saying you get. Silent Night is obviously a carol, but it's got to be A, Silent Spring. Actually, the writer for this, was inspired by this. The title was inspired by the writer who wrote it, Louis Marks, by Rachel Carlson's 1962 environmental science book, which is the Silent Spring novel, and it was basically about the human impact on the environment. So there you have it. That is how this adventure came into being, because Louis Marks was inspired by this scientific sort of analysis of humans' impact on the environment. So there you go. Right, question 9. So obviously, if you forgot what the answer was, it was A, Silent Spring. That was a novel. Right, question 9. When the Doctor suggested they split up into 2 parties, who went with the Doctor? Was it A, Ian? Was it B, Susan? Or was it C, Barbara? It was C, Barbara. Question 10. When one of the companions shouted to the Doctor, "Look, it's a huge snake," but what were they referring to? Or what was it, really? Was it A, a caterpillar? Was it B, a centipede? Or was it C, a worm? It was actually C, a worm. It was a giant earthworm. Because they were miniaturised, it looked like a snake to Barbara, but it was actually a garden earthworm. And don't worry, it was dead because it got infected by this insect. Everything in that area was infected by this poisonous insecticide that this horrible man that I was telling you about, the villain, was actually trying to flog or trying to sell to the government so they could make him a rich man out of it, basically. And when the guy from the scientific advisor, Farrow, said it was too dangerous, and he will be telling that in his report. That's unfortunate for him, because he said to him, I am not going to let nobody get in my way. In other words, he became ruthless. So the poor scientist clocked into Heaven's Gate, wherever scientists go when they pass away. So anyway, so that was the reason for the whole thing. The whole plot was based around this insecticide and trying to sort of push it through. But obviously things went wrong for the villain, and he resorted to murder. Anyway, never mind. Let's move on to question. I think we're on question 11, aren't we? Yeah, question 11. And that was all being tell you why the worm was dead. You know, so I thought I'd explain myself, but I don't think I needed to explain myself. But never mind. I better move on swiftly to question 11. What was the reason for the demise of the insects in the garden? Now, I gave you a bit of a clue that when I was just telling you, so I shouldn't have done that, but never mind. I'm sure you knew the answer anyway. Was it A, some of the energy from the TARDIS had escaped, and it had escaped from the console and went into that area and poisoned every living thing in it, which is a likely story. They had been exposed by radiation, possibilities but unlikely. And was it C, they had been subjected to an insecticide? Well, I've obviously given the game away when I was telling you just a second ago. Yes, it was. They were exposed to an insecticide which was deadly to everything in the environment. That means the ecosystem of the insects themselves. So basically, it was deadly. So the answer is C. Right, question 12. When the TARDIS materialised in England, modern day England, what was the name of the place they materialised in? In other words, what city did they actually materialise in? Well, I wouldn't say city, just say place. Make it easy, because one of them is not a city, as you'll find out when I read them out. Was it A, Liverpool? Was it B, Norwich? Or was it C, Brighton? The answer is B, Norwich. Suffolk, if you want to know. Norfolk. I think Suffolk's where Ipswich is. It's a bit confusing, but if you didn't do geography like I didn't, you probably would be confused. But yeah, the answer was B, Norwich. Right, I'm looking for some. Question 13. What did Ian say about the world they had materialised in when they were exploring, that is? Did he say, we are on Earth, but I can't explain it? Did he say B, it must be an exhibition like the World's Fair? Or did he say C, don't be naive, Susan, this is another planet? The answer is B, it must be an exhibition like the World's Fair. Right, okay then, question 14. Why did the villain shoot to death the government scientist? Well, again, I gave it away a bit, but never mind, I'll read the answer out. Was it because A, the scientist was about to expose his project? Was it B, he refused to be blackmailed? Or was it C, his report would have exposed the dangers of the insecticide? Well, the answer is obviously C. The report would have exposed the dangers of the insecticide. So therefore, the villain, or shall I say the culprit, would have not been able to become rich from his insecticide experiments that were going on in his company. So he tried to falsify the claims that his insecticide was great for the environment, but unfortunately insects around him were dying, so the proof was in the pudding of the eating, as they say. So anyway, it was C. Right, we're coming to the end of this farce of a quiz. Before I finish off on the last 5, I'm just going to take a sip of water because my mouth's getting a bit dry. Forgive me, I need to have a drag of a fag. So give me 1 second and we'll move on to question 15. Nothing like a good drag on a fag, is there? Especially when you want to cough to death. Right, question 15. What was the name of the insecticide? I repeat question 15 again. What was the name of the insecticide used? Was it A, DN4? Was it B, DN5? Or was it C, DN6? The answer is C, DN6. Right, question 16. Which of the companions accidentally touched the insecticide which was sprayed on some seeds and then fell ill? Was it A, Ian? Was it B, Susan? Or was it C, Barbara? That was a bit careless of her. It was C, Barbara. Right, question 17. When the companions discovered the dead body on the floor, what method did they use to try and inform or attract the authorities? Was it A, try to use a telephone? Was it B, using a Bunsen burner on an aerosol can? Or was it C, turning the gas up in the laboratory, which would cause an explosion? Well, yes and no to some of them, but the obvious answer that I could pinpoint when I was watching the whole thing was they used a Bunsen burner. So it's B. They used a Bunsen burner on an aerosol can. In other words, a lighted Bunsen burner. They would have had great difficulty using a telephone now because their voices would have sounded like mice squeaking. So that wasn't an obvious way. They did use it, but it was very hard. It took 4 of them to lift it off the receiver. So there you go. So they used an aerosol can to... they used an aerosol can with the Bunsen burner pushed against it, and then as soon as it reached a certain temperature, it would blow up. But it did. It blew up in somebody's face. It blew up in the villain's face as he came through the door. And as that time, what a coincidence, well written Louis Marks, you have a policeman coming on at the same time. So it was all sort of cleared up there and then. He was the villain. The scientist, he was, shall I say, the other collaborating scientist who was hell-bent on stop at nothing. He didn't care about what it meant because he spent 16 hours a day, as he was boasting, about how much this meant to him, and he did not want the project to stop, so he was in on it as well. But they all got arrested and we all lived happily ever after. Right, so the answer was... B, using a Bunsen burner on an aerosol can so it would explode and attract somebody's attention. Question 18. What was the giant animal that was sizing the companions up? This was about towards the end of episode 2, I think. Was it A, a dog? Was it B, a frog? Or was it C, a black cat? Now, I don't know if a dog would eat you, but I definitely know C. The answer would be C. A black cat would eat you because it would mistaken you for mice. So, you ever saw the Incredible Shrinking Man when he shrunk to such a small size that his pet cat became his became the predator, you could say. And he became the prey. So unfortunately, luckily, the black cat didn't eat him that day. He got knocked down by a flight of stairs, but was never seen again. He started to shrink and shrink. But that's another film. But it is related in a way when you think about it. The way the concept of the whole thing is, it's about shrinking, isn't it? And how you develop. How you develop towards the environment, or shall I say, how you actually synchronize yourself to the environment around you. Is synchronize a good word? Yeah, I think it's all right. How you that's it. Climatize yourself to the environment to make good of your situation. Anyway, the answer was C, a black cat, because at the end of episode 2, I think, or was it episode 1? It could have been episode 1. Yeah, it was episode 1. At the end of episode 1, the Doctor and his companions were stopped in their tracks with a black cat sizing them up for its next meal. But they got out of it because the cat got distracted and they ran the other way, so the cat never caught them in the end. And you would expect it was in the writing for them to get away, wasn't it? Right, we're moving on to the last 2 questions, and I think I hear you in relief and grief say, blimey, thank God for that. I don't think I could get through this guy's annoying voice, but never mind, I have to live with it, so you have to. Anyway, question 19. How did the companions and the Doctor revert back to normal size? Was it A, as soon as the Doctor and the companions dematerialised in the TARDIS, things, including themselves, returned to normal size? Was it B, they began to grow back to normal size when the compression field around them began to weaken and disintegrate? Or was it C, it was just an hallucination they were experiencing brought upon by escaping Ultron energy from the TARDIS console while they were sleeping. A likely story. That's a Bobby Ewing moment. You remember Dallas when they actually, you know, the whole series, Bobby Ewing was dead, right? And then suddenly, towards the end of that series, he comes alive. He comes out of the bleeding shower as if nothing had happened. Bottle won't melt in his mouth. So the whole thing was geared for him to actually say that Pamela was actually dreaming through the whole bloody series. So what happened to all those big deals that JR did and all that? You know, ridiculous, wasn't it? So it's the worst ever sort of shock for, you know, because he used to have these big build-ups to these sort of how you call it, cliffhangers, and that to me was the worst ever cliffhanger I've ever saw. And I'll be honest with you, it put the credibility of the series into doubt after that, because they thought, well, if they're going to do that, they're going to do anything, and it destroyed the flow of the program. I loved Dallas up until that point, and I lost interest after that. I thought, this is what you call, excuse my language, but it was total bollocks. I'm sorry about that, but it had to be said. But anyway, yeah, it wasn't C, it wasn't A, sorry, it wasn't B, because there was no compression field around them. They were just sort of miniaturised, but when the TARDIS grew small, so did they. So obviously they came out of it, but it's when they got back into it and dematerialised, they actually returned to normal size, because the Doctor brought one of those seeds back. And he put it on the corner, and the seed started to disintegrate. You know, it was a big seed, and it decided to disintegrate. That was a sign that they were back to normal size, because the seed reverted back to normal size. So anyway, the answer was B. They began to grow back to normal size when the compression field around... Sorry, I read the wrong one there. As soon... Sorry. I'll do it again. Take a deep breath. Right, I'll do it again. It was A, sorry. See, it was A. I apologise very much, it was A. As soon as the Doctor and the companions dematerialised in the TARDIS, things, including themselves, returned to normal size, including the knot they brought in. Right, okay, we're on the final question. Question 20. Which one of the companions leaves the TARDIS at the end of the next adventure? Was it A, Ian? Will it be Susan, B? Or is it C, Barbara? The answer is B, Susan. That's the one when the Doctor gives his long speech at the end of it, and it's a tearful farewell to his granddaughter, Susan, who goes off with a guy called David in the Dalek invasion of Earth. So this adventure is the penultimate one before Susan leaves in the next adventure. Anyway, that's enough of that. I hope you enjoyed it, because I really waffled on there a bit, didn't I, ladies and gentlemen? Never mind, it's all in the fun. Right, that's it for the quiz for tonight. There'll be another Doctor Who quiz next Friday, and I will let you know what all the themes will be tomorrow on Twitter and Facebook. Just to remind you, I'll be back tomorrow on Podbean at 9 p.m. with the continuation of The Faceless Ones, with episode 2, and I'll see you then. So all that remains for me to say is good night from me, and bye for now.